Welcome to Chai with Ping. This is Ping Robert. In this podcast, I cover immigrant stories, cross-cultural experiences, and minority issues. Join me with a cup of chai and take a listen. Awesome. You ready?
Awesome.
Okay,
Sounds
cool.
good. I'm ready.
Welcome back to Chai with Ping. My name is Ping Robert, and thank you so much for tuning in my show. And if you're a newcomer, thank you so much for finding my show. And then I hope you will find a lot of new voices here on the show and also cool stories that you can listen to. Before we start today with a guest from all the way in Canada, that I want to encourage you to follow and subscribe my show and also find me on Facebook and Instagram. You can also email me. All the information are in the episode notes. And then you can find more pictures and more stories on social media and connect with me. Feel free to share your thoughts and ideas. That's about it. And then if you want to give me some support, you can definitely write some review on Apple Podcast or click that 5-star review on Spotify. I would really appreciate if you do that. Okay. Enough of that commercial thingy. Today, we have a very special guest from Toronto. And then he's a very cool musician and he was formerly known as Mel, but now he has a new name. So I'm going to introduce him in a little bit. He's a very talented and multilingual music artist. And he's more focusing on Afro-Reggaeton music and R&B music type. And he was born in Cameroon, but yet raised in 6 different countries throughout his life. He is really identified as a third culture kid. Definitely gonna talk about that when we start. And then he can so seamlessly do music and speech between English, Spanish, and French. So let's welcome Marc Amello.
Hey, Ping. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm so excited.
Me too. I can't wait.
Yeah. So before we get to your journey, can you tell us a little bit about your background? Because how can a person grow up in 6 different countries?
Yeah, but it gets so complicated when people ask me, hey, where are you from? I always start with Cameroon because my entire family is from Cameroon.
Yeah.
But the second they ask me, oh, so you came from Cameroon straight to Canada? I'm like, no. So I grew up a bit everywhere. Kenya, Senegal, the US, Spain, and Canada, of course. And I just feel like it's made me the type of person that can relate to different people, cultures, languages very easily and switch between them. And honestly, it's made me the person that I am today and pushed me to the goals that I'm trying to attain as a person today. Yeah.
Why did you have to move so many times?
So when I was a kid, my dad was working for the World Trade Organization and the World Bank as well.
Yeah.
And for anyone who's grown up in those type of families, you often moving around like every 2 to 4 years.
That's right.
Because there's like different postings in different countries.
Yeah.
The priorities of the organization changes sometimes and they're focusing on certain regions. So they just want workers to move around a lot. And also my dad is also the type of person who liked to travel. So it worked out for everyone.
Do you have any siblings?
Yeah. So I have 3 siblings, all older than me, like 2 older brothers and 1 older sister. Like the gap is massive though. Like my older brothers are 11 and 10 years older than me, and my sister is 5 years older than me.
Wow. Okay. And were they born in a different country?
So my brothers were born in the US in Illinois.
Okay.
And me and my sister were born in Cameroon.
Got it. So even before you were born, your parents were already abroad.
Yeah. So my parents went to university in Illinois, and then they moved from Illinois back to Cameroon, and that's when my sister and I were born.
That is so cool. I feel like your parents also have great stories to tell, huh?
Oh, the most interesting stories for sure.
Yeah. And so since your dad has to move so much, does your mom also need to just accommodate him? Like, it's because she doesn't do work that much, right?
So when we were in Kenya and Senegal, she was a seamstress as well. And when we were in Cameroon, she was a teacher. She was a professor in Cameroon. And then but my mom is also one of those jack of all trades type of person. In the US, she does like real estate, and she also owns stores in Cameroon as well.
Jeez, because a lot of expat spouse, they can't really have a career, but it seems like your mom was successful in that way.
Yeah, my mom is very I get a lot of the entrepreneurial side of things from my mother for sure. She's very she can't sit still and not do anything. She has to be involved in things all the time.
Yeah.
She's that type of person.
Wow, I'm pretty sure that she's very creative as well.
in her own way, more in the fashion sense. Like she was more on the
Yes.
fashion side.
Yeah.
And I got to be exposed to a lot of that from her. And also like art. And I didn't even notice it until I was older. There's like 400 paintings just sitting around my house. I just never took it in for what it was. Like
Never realized.
yeah, it wasn't until like I went off to university and I went back home to visit and I was showing my friend like my basement and she was like, yo, why is there like 200 paintings there? I was like, oh, I guess we do have a lot of art. Yeah, like paintings and sculptures and all of that. Yeah.
So then, shall we start with each country and just bring out a little stories about how you grew up?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Do you want to start with Cameroon? Do you have any memory though?
But I would go back like every year, like every single year and spend a lot of time. Like my parents would just every summer, like just leave me there for like 4 months with my cousins in different cities, just like get to like to make sure that I'm connected to my culture and like that I have my roots grounded where I'm from and not have to be like one of those people who never feels like they have a home.
Yeah.
And for me, I very strongly feel Cameroonian. Like there's never been any identity issues behind that for me. And I think that was a big part of that.
Yeah. And wow, because you just pointed out something that third culture kids will usually face because they move around and never have a root place for them to go back to. But I think your family are very intentional about this.
Yeah.
And also like
much so.
Outside of your immediate family, your extended family are all still back in Cameroon, huh?
They're a bit everywhere, which helped me as well as a kid.
Okay.
I have like cousins in Belgium, Italy, Germany, the Denver, in France as well. So it was just like everyone's a bit everywhere. It's a big family, so everyone's all over the place.
Huh. That makes me wonder, like, are you guys like very high end and like upper stream of the family in your society?
Not necessarily because so my particular tribe in Cameroon, we're called Bamileke. Okay. And in the 70s and 80s, we're pretty persecuted people. So like if you meet a Cameroonian outside of Cameroon, for the most part, they're most likely going to be Bamileke. People like the NBA, Joel Embiid, Pascal Siakam, a lot of the professional footballers, like they'll be from my tribe because we were forced to leave the country and be more entrepreneurial outside of the country.
Got it. Yeah, because I have a good college friend, and then he's in Taiwan for I think more than 10 years now, and he's from Cameroon, but he speaks more English than French. Is there a different area that language are dispersed?
Yeah, so actually my part of the country I'm from the west of the country. I was born in the capital, but my family's from the west. And the west, there's a part that is also English speaking. Because Cameroon used to be, before independence, it was English Cameroon and French Cameroon. Also at one point German Cameroon, but that wasn't really a thing that big. But French and English Cameroon, they then unified, I think, in 1961. Okay. But there's still a lot of tension between those two sides now today, like civil war and stuff going on and behind militia type stuff. So it's still a tension that's still ongoing. But within my tribe itself, there's actually the English and the French speaking people.
Are there local dialects too?
Yeah, probably like 200, 300 different languages.
Yeah. Every village will have their own, huh?
100%. Every village will have like their own adaptation of a language or off-root of like a Bantu language.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, it's another side of diversity that we probably don't see a lot here in the Western world.
Yeah, but because also in the Western world, like there's typically the countries are built off of like a unifying myth versus being drawn on a map and this is now your country. Yeah.
That's true. Wow. Okay. What were the interesting thing that happened when you went back home for summers and all that? What do you guys usually do?
One of the things is like when you come from abroad, they automatically see you as an American. So like people will try to take advantage of you in the markets, like when you're bargaining, because everything is bargained for in price. Like there might be a set price written down, but everything is bargained, right? But when someone senses that you're from abroad, they try to tax that price to the maximum. Yeah. Stuff like that. Or even like when you're on the road driving, the policeman will stop you and create a new tax that you have to pay to like cross an area, stuff like that.
Wait, so they can tell you're not from the local? Like how?
Honestly, even I can tell when someone hasn't been to Cameroon for long. I don't know why. Maybe it's just like a manner of walking, a way of dressing. even like, so Cameroon, there's a lot of red sand. So if you walk around your shoes, the bottom of it will turn red.
Yes.
So one of the identifiers of knowing that someone hasn't been in Cameroon for a long time is if their shoes aren't red, then they probably don't go around a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. But like, I thought people would be driving too.
People drive too, but naturally, just by being it sticks to the bottom of your shoe. There's no avoiding it. Like even on there'll be pavement roads, but on the side, like you can't avoid the red sand. It's just there.
Okay. Well, thank you for the tip. Next time when I go to Cameroon, I will probably borrow someone else's shoes. As if I can cheat with my face.
There's a lot of Asians in Cameroon that speak just like the natives. An Asian man has tried to rip me off in Cameroon as well. Like there's all types of races there as well.
Wow. Okay. And then how do you actually deal with them when you have those, bargaining situation?
I'm pretty good at like adjusting pretty quickly back, and like my accent in French when I'm in Cameroon is very much like a local, so it's harder to tell. And I'm also typically with my older cousins who make sure that I don't get ripped off ever.
Got it. Good tip. Yeah. I am curious about the food in Cameroon.
The food in Cameroon is amazing. Honestly, it's some of the best cuisine, like the type of meats, the roasted fish, the smoked fish. We even have like delicacies in terms of like bakery goods that like people call like what became a donut in the Western world comes from like the idea of a beignet in Africa. Or in certain places they call it something different, but it's like a round flour based
it's like a donut, but without a hole.
Like it's more like it has more like flour within it and a little bit of a crunch to it.
Ooh, okay. So that's a snack also, or a staple?
Yeah, it's a snack. But also you would have it like if you went to a wedding, one of the trays would be that. Of course, plantain as well. We have like this thing called ndolé, which is like it's a herb. It's kind of like an herb, but it's mixed with sauce and like make ground peanut butter into it. Cassava. It's an amazing dish.
So ndolé is a kind of sauce?
Ndolé is like it's an herb with a mixed with a sauce. So like, you use it as a sauce beside food, but if you looked at it, you think it's an herbal dish, and then you eat it like wow.
Okay, so I feel it will look like a chutney.
Maybe,
like
that's the closest thing. I think that's the closest thing. Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
And also the street food in Cameroon is just next level. Especially the street meats are just next level.
What is the common meat that you guys usually eat?
It depends, like on the region. In certain regions, like it's a lot of goat, lamb, chicken, beef. Yeah. But there's also regions in Cameroon that eat monkey. So like.
Okay.
So it's like it depends on the region you're in.
Okay. Yeah. And what are your staples? Is it I heard a lot of African countries actually eat more rice than we think.
Yeah, we eat rice a lot, but like I think particularly in Cameroon we're known for like the peppers, like Cameroonian pepper, and in most countries they use it in their dishes because the spice level is amazing.
Oh, so you guys eat chili food too?
Oh, nothing but chili food for the most part. Yeah. And obviously the French influence of like breakfast is like baguettes with hot chocolate or tea or porridge or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
How much French influence do you guys have in like the practical life?
I would say a lot in terms of it's the quote unquote lingua franca, the one that people use in the street the most. You'll hear French. We hear French with like a mix of like local like vernacular tapped into it. Yeah. So, but the signs are in French. The negotiating, you're negotiating in French. The TV shows are in French.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, what about the system, like the society system?
School system? The school system is also split between the French and the English system.
Okay.
So the English part of Cameroon has is mainly the English, the British system of school. Yeah. And the French side is the French system of school as well. And also Catholicism is very seeped into the culture. So a lot of the schools are Catholic schools as well.
And I can also expect to see more Cameroonian in France, because that's probably the trajectory you can actually go for career or.
Funny enough, the one of the biggest places is actually Germany, because for engineering you get free schooling. So a lot of people, their second language in school is German.
Got it. Okay. Oh, that's where the third part of Cameroon was, huh? It's like embedded into school systems.
Yeah, but you wouldn't even think. I think like even in general, like I don't know, many countries focus on it, but I know in Cameroon it's a focus to do the engineering and go to Germany because the degree is free.
Got it. Yes. But the living expenses are very high.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I have a lot of cousins in Germany. That's why.
Got it. That's so cool because I never thought about that. It's like we don't usually see a lot of people from Cameroon, but okay, Germany is the place.
Also in America, DC and Houston. Massive.
Okay. It's a cluster.
Yeah, because when I lived in DC, like 2 of my neighbors were Cameroonian, like door to door. Like I remember when we drove into a neighborhood, I see Cameroonian flags. I was like, where am I?
Wait, one more question. So like, can you actually tell Africans from different countries, like by the look?
Sometimes I talk to this about with my engineering producer a lot because he grew up abroad as well. And I can tell by like, I feel like the way language is spoken, your mouth structure kind of gives away where you're from a little bit. I don't know how to explain it, but sometimes I can just tell like a Congolese person. And also your first word, the second you speak, I know the local accent.
Very cool. Yeah, because Congolese also speak French.
Yeah, but I can tell like when a Congolese person speaks French, I can tell that they're not Cameroonian very quickly.
Got it. Okay. Wow. That's just the instincts that you develop over the time.
Yeah.
That's
but there's also these expressions that we use that like no one else uses. So just
yeah. Okay. Before we move to the next country, Senegal, anything else you want to add?
I think we covered quite a lot of
okay. Senegal, also a French-speaking country. Yeah. And when did you move there?
I moved to Senegal when I was like 6 months old.
Yeah.
Senegal is a place where I spoke my first words ever as a human being.
Oh, yeah. And how long did you stay there?
2.5 years.
Okay.
And
wait, so then that's not really a long time for you to develop memories.
The only memories I have is because my uncle who stayed there, like, he used to be in like the soccer academy in Cameroon. He was a big influence in like showing me the sport as a kid, and I was very competitive in that sport until like when I was older. Yeah. So he was a big influence on me as well, and that's where I first started learning to speak as a human being, right?
Yeah, got it. And so during those 2 years in Senegal, you mentioned your siblings are way older than you. So do they also kind of just move alone and then go to a local school, or what kind of school did they go for?
I went to a preschool and all my siblings went to the same school. They were in elementary school at the time. So
okay.
Yeah.
Because that's an expat. Well, even though it's like still in Africa, but like, is there a certain like international school system that you joined?
So in every country we were in, there was an international school system or a British school system. Yeah. So when we get to talk about Kenya, I'll definitely get into that more in depth because that's where we started all going to different schools.
Yeah. Okay, cool. How similar or different Senegal is to Cameroon?
At the time, Senegal was definitely more developed, especially Dakar. Like Senegal is a very developed country in general. They've had a lot of like semi-political issues, but like the capital city itself, where we were in Dakar, is like a pretty well-developed city.
Yeah. Wow,
and a prosperous port in Africa in general.
Yeah. Got it. Very cool, huh? And then what about the culture, the food, and way of life? Is it similar to Cameroon?
I would say I didn't get to experience that much of the culture, but funnily enough, there were words that I picked up and I kept going with because like in Senegal, there's more of an influence of Islam. So Arabic words that get morphed into French words occur more often in like the vernacular that people speak every day. So people will be mixing French, Arabic, and Wolof, which is the language that they speak in Dakar.
Yeah.
They mix that all the time.
Yeah.
And food-wise, it's very similar to Cameroon too. Okay.
I love it. Like you just pointed out like some of the very cool things, like the religions actually had a lot of impact on people's life.
A lot of influence.
Yeah, and the language itself. Very cool. So I will also wonder that you might not see a lot of pork in synagogue.
In Senegal, I don't remember, but I wouldn't remember to be honest. But you probably wouldn't, yeah, if I'm being
Yeah,
honest, because
because of the Muslim population.
yeah,
Yeah. Okay, fast forward. After 2 years, you moved to Kenya. And how
yeah.
long did you stay there?
Kenya, I was there for 5 years, 6 years even. I
Six
was
years.
in,
So when you were
from
two and a
like
half and to
from like
8.
not from like 3 to 10.
Okay. That's pretty formative.
Like
Do
six and a
you?
half. So yeah, Kenya I remember really well. Like
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Kenya,
yeah.
yeah.
Let's talk about what school system. Oh, so international school is always the one that you went to.
So
Is
in
that right?
Kenya, my two oldest brothers went to the French school.
Mm-hmm.
My sister went to the international school, and then I went to a British school because it was really good at soccer, and they were a good school as well. But like,
Okay.
that's why I ended up going there.
It's so hard to imagine because I've never been, but it's just like, do you guys wear uniforms?
Yeah. We wore a uniform. It was like the school system is very strict at least the French school they didn't wear uniforms. The international school they didn't wear uniforms. But my school, the British school I went to, we wore uniforms. We would have to like we all ate like lunch together. You had to like finish the lunch. That type of like it was very regimented and strict type of school.
Okay. Now I'm curious.
Yeah.
What time to what time is your school time?
It was 8 o'clock to 3, I think.
Okay. And
Yeah.
then there will be recess after each hour.
There was like 2 recess periods. Like one was like shorter with like 15 minutes, and
Okay.
one was like an hour, not even an hour, 40 minutes maybe.
Okay. And then
Yeah.
plus lunchtime.
Yeah.
Okay. Ooh, let's talk about lunch. Is it like a
Yeah.
central cafeteria or
Yeah, it was
like
a cafeteria. It was a
Okay.
cafeteria. They'll give you like milk, rice, sauce, porridge,
Okay.
pudding, stuff like that. Yeah.
Okay. So
It's
you
like
just
it's a
get your
typical
tray.
high school. It's like a typical school cafeteria.
Yeah. Okay. So you get a tray and then everyone is served with the same food. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Because like a lot of American or I think Canadian high schools are a little different because you can choose to bring your own food or you can
Yeah.
buy from outside. But
Yeah.
for
That's
your school is like everyone is eating the same food.
yeah. Everyone ate the same food. every day.
Okay. Yeah. What was your favorite subject?
At the time, like I'll probably say I'm very big into history and like
Uh-huh.
learning about international relations in general.
Yeah.
So since I was a little kid, like history and I guess writing as well, like English have been big for
Yeah.
me.
So
Math as well to a degree, but more so history.
yeah. And then wait, so you guys speak French at home, but then in
But
Kenya,
I always went to school in English though.
yeah.
I was the only one of my siblings who always went from like the day I was born. I always went to school in English.
Okay. And do you feel that this connection or between like your siblings and you or just difference?
Not necessarily because we all spoke English. Like
Okay.
I would say like when I was younger, my eldest brother, he didn't speak English as well as us until we moved to Canada, and then his English got to a higher level. But
Yeah.
I would always like the way we communicate at home is like a mix of English and French. Like we call it Franc-Anglais. So it's like
Yeah.
Franglish, Franc-Anglais. Like we change like start the sentence in English, end it in French, middle word in English or French.
Yeah.
There's not really much thought about it.
Yeah. And wait, do your parents also talk like that or just you kids?
Yeah, but I would say with my parents, I speak more French, but they do that as well.
Okay.
We just got so used to it. Like
Yeah. Did you feel you were different when you're in school in Kenya? Because like the whole family is from Cameroon.
Yeah. I feel like I was too young to even feel. I was too like ingrained. I was too embedded in like, oh, I'm gonna go to school and play soccer. That was the only thing on my mind. Like I wasn't thinking too much about the complications of identity or anything like that. Because you're young. It's not really the forefront of your mind necessarily.
And so no one actually pointed out to you that you're not from there.
Not really, to be honest. Like it wasn't really a thing. Because I guess in Kenya, like I looked like everyone else. So it wasn't like I would stand out physically or anything. And also in Kenya, there's a lot of like immigration because at the time, like Somalia and Ethiopia there's things going on in those countries, famine, whether it was war or famine. So people would migrate across. So it wasn't that weird. There's also a lot of Indians, Australians, people from everywhere. So it wasn't that weird for people to see someone from somewhere else.
Yeah, got it. Okay. About 6 years. And then when you were 10 years old, you moved to Canada.
Yeah.
Wow.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. Was that a big
That
shift for you?
was the biggest culture shock for sure.
Yeah, let's talk about
Like,
it.
that one was a culture shock because, like, first of all, like the way that was the first place where I felt different because I was the African kid. That was when I started getting the questions like, "Where are you from?" And I'm like, "I'm from Cameroon, but I moved here, and there." There was more like,
Yeah.
a lot of people talk about Canada being multicultural, which it is, but like kids don't really know that type of stuff. So everyone starts asking questions like, "Oh, did you guys live in huts? Did you guys have roads?" Like that's when those type of questions started happening. I remember there was one of the first girls I met in Canada as a kid. She was like, "I was named after the capital of Africa." Like I'll get things like that.
People's curiosity kind of spiked because you're
Yeah.
one special kid. Well, especially in a sense, it's like racially, and also you're not from there.
Yeah.
And I guess the language will be a little different too.
Yeah, like because I also had a massive Kenyan accent. Like my English accent was Kenyan. So you could definitely tell for like the first probably year and a half that like I was not from here.
Yeah. So what was your reaction and feelings when they asked you so many questions?
Luckily, I'm the type of person who's very like calm about those things. Like I would answer people, or sometimes like if it was really like if I felt like it was a dumb question, I'll just like laugh it off or whatever. But I feel like I adapted pretty quickly. I think sports helped me adapt to Canadian culture easier because like once you're like someone see you excel like in sports, they feel more comfortable speaking to you. They view you, I don't know, quote unquote cool or whatever. I also did well in school, so like I never really had that many issues adjusting because people viewed me as someone who was
sportive type.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. What did you play?
I played soccer, basketball, and track, but like my main sport was soccer.
Okay. You're the only African in school.
I was like, yeah, African. Yeah, I was the only one. There was like me, and then I was, in terms of black kids, I was one of 3 in my class. There was one Jamaican guy. We became friends immediately, and then one kid he was from Canada, and that was it.
Okay. And then were you in Toronto already?
Yeah, I was in the suburbs of Toronto.
What about outside of school? Do people treat you differently?
I guess again, I was still young, so my experience of outside of school was like going to church, going to the mall with my family, and playing sports. So I wasn't really at an age yet where people could treat me differently in a way that I would notice, if it makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Okay. Wait, you mentioned church. So what kind of church did you? So I guess that's also a community for you guys, right?
Yeah. So I went to a Catholic church, but I went to a French Catholic church, so it was an easier adjustment because it's just French people, and a lot of Africans were there as well. So that was where I built a sense of community. Also in Toronto, there's a community of expat Cameroonians. It was called Binam, and that was another place where I felt like it felt like a little Cameroon. You know, I also had that in Kenya as well. There was a community of Africans at our French church that would just get together.
Okay. Wow. Would you say that's the main community that you built up? Like it's more at church?
At the time, it was at church and the Cameroonian cultural organizations. Yeah.
Okay, got it.
And also within my dad's work, like the families of other
expats.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you'll get together and form a little society thingy.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
And also, funnily enough, we all ended up like in North America at some point.
Yeah. And then so you already said that you didn't feel that much different, or that people didn't treat you so differently. So it was easier for you.
Yeah, I feel like it was easier for me than most people to adjust.
Yeah. And then that was like junior high. A lot of people say junior high is hard because
junior high,
puberty time, huh? Was it hard for you to say goodbye to Canada?
So I got told that we were moving like maybe like 2 months before I was ending junior high to go to high school. Like I was getting recruited by high schools, thinking that actually when I left the high school I was supposed to go to, they read my name out in class thinking I'll be there, and like so I didn't get to like the last month of school to tell my friends that I was leaving and stuff like that. So probably for the first week I was sad, but then I'm the type of person like all of a sudden I was like, oh my God, I'm moving to America. I'm excited. Like I was,
Yeah.
it went really quickly. Like from a week of like, oh, I'm sad, but I'll see you guys sometime. Like
Yeah, yeah. Oh, okay. So you're actually excited to move to the
the thing
US.
is, by that time I had moved around quite a bit, so it wasn't like. And the move I remember the most was like Kenya because we had to move so many things, especially crossing
Yes.
the Atlantic and all that.
Yeah, yeah.
But this move was felt more like a little bit of a waypoint, not that much of a big move.
Where did you guys move to in the US?
Maryland, in the DMV
Ah,
area. Yeah,
okay. And then so you were there for the whole high school or just
yeah,
certain
all of high
years?
school, all of high school.
Okay,
Yeah,
4 years then.
yeah,
Was it hard? Like, because I know international schools are, in the same system, but still
yeah.
you're moving from one place to the other.
Okay, so the thing about that was unique about my high school is it was half boarding school, half day school, and most of the
Mm-hmm.
boarding school kids were international kids from like
Mm-hmm.
Nigeria, Switzerland, Austria, all over the place. So
Yeah.
there was already in the school, it was already embedded that multiculturalism was embedded. Probably for
Yeah.
the first week of school, we were like, he's the African kid, da, da, da. Like they'll make little jokes, or even like they'll make jokes about Canada, like, did you live in the igloo? There's no culture in Canada. Canada is just like America's hat, things like that. But again, sports immediately made me ingrained within the culture because like once I moved, I joined the team and it was easier to adjust for me.
What did you play?
In high school, I played soccer and ran
Okay.
track.
Okay. But like, so you're in such a multicultural school already. And
Yeah.
then was it easy to settle in? I wouldn't say blend in because like, I guess everyone is so different.
Yeah, but I think the thing that made it easy to settle in was also an all guys school, and like the teachers were very much more like they're very more much more direct with us than I had experienced at any other school.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So in high school, 4 years. So you didn't miss Canada. Did you miss it? Did you miss any of the countries before? Not
Well,
really.
the thing is, like, I was before choosing university, I was getting recruited by schools to play soccer in the U.S. and getting certain scholarship offers, but like the prestige of the University of Toronto was higher than those schools, and the tuition was so low because I had gotten permanent residency in Canada, and like tuition here is like 7,000 a year versus in America where like schools like NYU, Stanford was like 20K and up. NYU was like 65,000 a year before room and board.
Yes.
So it just made it was more logical to go to UFT, to the University of Toronto.
Oh, okay. Back up a little bit. You were in a boarding school in the US. But
Well,
then
I was it was half boarding school, but I commuted to school still.
okay. So you're still at home.
Yeah, but I would after school I would hang out with all the boarding school kids a lot.
Yeah.
And that was like my community initially.
Got it. At home, I guess that your parents will bring your home culture as well. Like, what are the cultures they keep with them? Like, do they
I would
continue
say
to eat the food? Yeah.
The food. Like my mom was an amazing cook, so
Yeah.
The food always stayed a constant. By that time, my brothers were in university and my sister was in university, so it was just me with my parents for the first 2 years. Then my brothers moved to DC as well eventually.
Yeah.
But that was probably the biggest adjustment of being home alone more, like having a little more independence because I'm busing about like an hour across town to go to school.
Yeah.
I'm having to like take myself to practices to my club team after school, stuff like that. So I had more, that was the first place where I had more independence to like roam around because like when I was in Canada, I would roam around in my neighborhood, like bike around with my friends, but like this is the first time where I'm roaming around an entire city infrastructure by myself.
Yeah. Did you ever wonder your identities?
That was the first place where I was like, you definitely feel like, I feel like in the US, you feel more, it's easier to feel other, like when you're just arriving because like culturally, America's different. The accent in DC is so different to adjust to relative to Canada. People were speaking so, like people would say things to me I just didn't understand. Like I would need a second, like 5 minutes later, I processed what they said because like the accent is so different. The way people interact is different because I feel like Americans are a lot more inquisitive and they'll ask you questions without like holding back. Whereas in Canada, it's more like be polite, hello, please, thank you, but like they're not gonna pry for information about you or get to know you like as a stranger in the same way that it was in the US, I would say.
Were there any weird questions that people asked you?
Mostly the igloo stuff and like when you're in Africa, did you live in a hut? Did you have cars? Did you guys ride snowmobiles? Like
Yeah.
mostly the ignorant type of questions.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
So instead of asking about like your African countries experience, but they focus more on the Canada.
Also there was like a lot of students would like the only thing they knew about Africa was like slavery, Kunta Kinte, like stuff like that. And so they'll make jokes about that, but like that type of stuff never has bothered me because like I'm just very confident in who I am. But
and as you moved back to Canada, was it hard for you to say bye to high school? Because like high school sounds like you had a great time, and also it's also when you form.
Yeah, but honestly, for me coming back to Toronto, it was different because like in Toronto, like I already had a group of friends from middle school that were some of them going to the same university as me. So like I knew that I could always fall back on them. And two, like having been in the US, I've become a much more like socially extroverted person just by nature of how the society is, such that like when I landed back here, like I was very confident as a human being and just like very open to just like mingling with different people, learning about different people. Yeah, so I feel like that made the fact that I lived in Toronto before made it a lot easier for me coming back.
Was it just a financial factor that led you back to Toronto, or
no? It was also at the time the school was like one of the top 20 schools in the world at the time.
Okay.
And the program and everything, it just seemed like a good fit for me as well.
What did you study?
International relations and statistics.
Wow. Okay. So you kind of have like personal experience, and now you're going for that professional route.
Yeah. Well, also that's what my dad to a degree was in working with the international organization. So like that definitely pushed me more into being intrigued about international development in the world in general.
And then so while you're in college, because you have so many different kinds of personal experience, does it shape your studies or your ideology in a way?
I definitely think it did shape my ideology like initially because I guess but like any person, like you're shaped by your experiences and where you've been. So like your perspective on things is very different. Whereas like someone who was taught about the world in Canada and hasn't experienced everything outside, their viewpoint is very like, I feel like it'll be more closed and one-dimensional versus when you've seen different experience different governments. Because sometimes the way they talk about certain governments here, it's like, once you experience it, like, oh, I mean, it was bad, but certain aspects that you're considering bad weren't actually that intense, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. So I have friends over here and then they study international affairs, but they're international students. And then sometimes they challenge the professor's statements. And I don't know if that ever happened to you and how did it happen?
It would happen sometimes because like sometimes you'd be in class, especially as the years go on, the classes get smaller, right? And sometimes you get on a topic about Africa and all of a sudden the teacher looks to you as if you're an expert, but I'm still a student. Like I'm still here to learn things, but like they'll start talking about like South Africa. And they look to me like, hey, Armel, what would you know about South Africa? I'm like, I never lived in South Africa. I've never been to South Africa. I'm sorry, I can't be an expert in that.
That's right. So it's like sometimes the students can be taken as a token.
Exactly. And the professor will start looking to you as the person who speaks on behalf of everyone in this continent. Sometimes. And it's like, sometimes you have to clarify, like, I'm sorry, like, that's just not my experience. Yeah.
And also everyone's little own culture and family culture. And especially you move around, it's not all one culture, but multiple cultures.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then, what are some interesting things happening in college? Did you continue to play sports?
Less so. I did it more like recreationally because in the US I was playing in the National League. Like I was taking it seriously. Like I thought I was gonna try to go professionally. Yeah. And then I had to like think about it. I was like, makes more sense to pursue other things. So in college I was more involved in like the student organizations. So I was the vice president of the African Student Association at UFT. A part of this association called Black Ties, which was more like professional development and more involved in just like socially getting to know people, networking. That was where I really started networking a lot more.
So you study international development, but then now you're a musician.
Yeah.
How did that shift
So
happen?
even during like honestly, I've been involved in music since I was like 6 years old. Because like
Okay.
when I was in Kenya, my brothers were working with my eldest brother was a producer for the now head of like Warner Africa, and they were working on music at the time. So sometimes I'd pop in the studio, drop a little line here and there as like a kid, like as a 6-year-old. And then when I
Mm.
was in high school, they built a music studio at my high school as well. And I would be involved in like helping people write songs. We released one song like with me on it, although I'll never listen to that song again in my life.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
but yeah, so
Wow.
music had always like along the way, music has always been a part of my journey. Also in university, one of my friends, Halal, we started just recording music together all the time. And
Yeah.
at the time I thought I was gonna rap, but he was the first person to like put me onto the idea that I should try to sing. And that's where that kind of came from.
Okay. Because I know after college, you also moved to Spain for a little startup
Yeah,
business,
yeah.
and that was not really related to music. But then,
It was related to like the international relations, but it did help seep into my influences in music and
okay.
the language, of course, that
Yeah.
I started picking up and adding Spanish to my musical. Um,
Yes, because like your latest song, it's Spanish, right?
yeah, 100%.
Yeah. It's like I am so impressed because it's like Spanish is probably how do we describe it? It's like you learned it for the shortest time because
Yeah,
like English and French is always there, but then
yeah,
you can actually create songs in Spanish, which is like a third,
yeah.
fourth language of.
But I'd been going through like a writer's block and drought, and
Mm,
then I just decided to like take a different approach to writing music, and I
yeah.
found that like melodically, I was my inspiration came quicker in Spanish than any other language for no reason. I don't know what the reason is.
Huh.
Maybe it's because I've compartmentalized it as a language I use for music now,
Yeah. Yeah.
that the ideas flow easier melodically in that language. I don't know. It's one of those things that like, especially with my engineer producer Pandeli, we always about like trying different things and not being afraid to like venture into different sounds and aspects. And if it comes naturally, push
Yeah.
push it to the maximum and see how far you can go within it.
Got it. How does your we talk so many countries and stories. How does your
Yeah.
whole journey shape your interest in your genre of music? Because you do Afro-Reggaeton and R&B and what is it? Francophone Zouk and Coupé-Décalé. Like, would you
Yeah,
like to
so
talk about this?
I would say at the beginning of the journey, I was trying to do everything at
Mm-hmm.
once. I
Yeah.
would say in the last year and a half, I've focused it more to like merging my influences into creating a specific sound within Afro beats and reggaeton that fuses those two genres and creates
Yes.
something entirely new that would come from like you sometimes like if you listen to my most recent song, the drums are a mix, like the drum sections are reggaeton, the melodies are more Afro beats, but the language is Spanish. So that
Mm,
type of approach with everything to merge everything within the sound.
yeah. How do you land on these genres though? Like, why Afrobeats?
So when I was a kid, whenever I go summers back to Cameroon, I had a cousin who used to always put me on to the latest like hit songs that were in Cameroon, and I would rinse these songs. There's an artist called Duke Saga. There was a song probably for from 2008 to 2013. I would listen to his unfortunately he passed away, but I listened to his music on repeat. Like probably I've listened to his songs maybe 100,000 times. I'm not gonna lie to you, and it just became something that I loved so much. And it was Zouk and Coupé-Décalé at the time. Um, and then recently, obviously Afrobeats has become a lot bigger. But when I was a kid, there was a group called P Square, and they were like some of like the original Afrobeats artists to actually make a name for themselves internationally. And so they influenced my music heavily. And reggaeton is just like, as a person in my day to day, I listen to reggaeton more than any other genre in the world. Like I listen to Spanish music more than like Bad Bunny, Rosalia, artists like that. I listen to them more than any other artist in the world. So it just came naturally. And then also with being from Toronto, Toronto's a very
Mhm.
multicultural city. And
Yes.
Drake, the biggest artist from Toronto, is also very like he likes to hop a lot of genres. And
Yeah.
I lived in a lot of the countries of the genres that he's using. So that also influenced my music heavily.
Okay. Well, listeners, if you haven't heard Marc's music, I will put the link down below and you can totally just search on different streaming platform by his name. And it's very cool because like I can hear different elements in your songs and your
Yeah.
music. And it's just like it kind of expanded my worldview as well. I didn't know the music can be so cross-cultural.
Yeah.
And does French also influence your music making or
Yeah,
not?
but it definitely does. Like I've released a couple, like two or three French songs. But I would say I decided that I needed to like focus more on the Afro beats and Spanish aspect and sometimes incorporate the French, but it's just that like it's not a market I understand that well necessarily. And I think I understand the reggaeton and Afrobeats markets a lot better. And
Got it.
just by putting out music and getting feedback from people that are gatekeepers within those spaces, I've connected more with them
Yeah.
than in the French space. So I decided like go where you're wanted.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
like in the initial searching phase, yeah, you can explore things, but like when you see that people are demanding something from you, it's sometimes you gotta give it to them a little bit. You know,
Yeah.
you have to see where the market actually exists because I come from entrepreneurial background as well. So when you're starting a business, you're not creating a market, you're addressing a need within a market, right? And that's what I'm trying to do with my music as well.
Exactly. Was there like a hard time for you to decide if you're going for, your college degree or music?
I found that I was able to do both because the startup is doing pretty well, and I was able to be more like still be involved, be a shareholder, and still do music. So it's
Okay.
just for the music is like as far as it keeps progressing, then I
Mm-hmm.
dive in more and more into it.
Okay. And what does the company do in Spain?
It's not now it's based back in Toronto. So in Spain, we were in there for an accelerator.
Oh,
It
okay.
basically creates like highways in the sky for drones to operate
Yeah.
in cities throughout the world.
Okay, I didn't know that was part
Yeah.
of international development, but I guess it is.
Well, the international development part comes with like negotiating internationally, understanding like the cultural norms in different countries when you're negotiating with people and
Yeah.
interacting with them as well. So that's where it comes in. But like, yeah, it was definitely left field. It was me and one of my best friends, at university, and a couple other people. We just always like to talk about starting new things. So that's kind of how it came about.
Got it. We talked so much about your journey, Mark, and thank you so much for your stories. Before we come to your social media, is there anything
Yeah.
you want to add that we didn't cover before?
For sure. I guess in the next coming months, people I guess hear from me a lot more.
Yeah.
I have like three or four, maybe 4 or 5 songs coming out the rest of this year. I'm gonna be performing in my first festival here in Toronto, North by Northeast. It's like the South by Southeast equivalent.
Yeah.
In Toronto. So I'll be performing. They haven't announced the date yet. It's between June 17th to June 20th.
Yeah.
So I'd say people be on the lookout for that. As well, I'm gonna be way more active socially outside. People are gonna hear a lot more from me this year.
Yeah. I know that you're just working you're a single artist, right? So
Yeah.
is there a team behind you?
Yeah, so I have a management team. They're called 10th Floor, and they're all amazing people. Actually, Z helped set up this interview. He's a part of the team. Shout out Coco, Keish, Tabo. They work specifically on my project. I also have a producer, engineer, Pandeli, whose studio we work out of, and just a lot of friends within the industry that help us navigate it.
How can people find you?
Everywhere as Marc Amello. Spotify, Instagram, Apple Music, wherever you listen to music, and on TikTok as marc.amello.
Yes. And also Marc is spelled as M-A-R-C and Amello is A-M-E-L-L-O. So you can find him on these social media. I will also put it down in the episode note. Thank you so much for coming, Marc.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a blast.
Thanks for listening to Chai with Ping. If you think someone will benefit from this episode, don't forget to share it with them. You can also follow us on Facebook and Instagram. If you like my show, you can buy me some chai with small donations. Details are in the episode notes. Till next time.